in this lesson, we'll start to work on our blink controls. I'll head over to the layer manager and turn off freeze so we can select the eyeballs and eyelids and turn off X-ray. Alright, this character was modeled from Justin's course where he modeled a character for animators. Through that process, he made this connection between this slider and the eyelids. If we were to go ahead and turn on select and manipulate, we can go ahead and drag this slider around now onto the move tool, and notice how that controls the blinking. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove that connection and show you yet another way you can set up your blinks. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to use this type of setup at all. I'm just showing you again an alternative way of doing it. So to remove the connection, I'll turn off select and manipulate, can select the eyelid, press Alt 5 to get to the Y parameter dialog. Refresh that on the right side, and what's nice is that Max will very quickly filter out what we need filtered out so we can get right to the parameters that were wired. And then on our left side, we'll select the slider, refresh, open up the slider object to get to the value. So now it's just a matter of selecting the value, selecting the parameters that were wired, and choosing disconnect. Now you saw that the right eye wasn't blinking. That's because I actually removed the instance that it had. You can do that by simply selecting your object and just cloning it as a copy. So I just press Ctrl V to clone, and then you choose copy. And then you could delete the object that was instance afterwards. Alright, so that's just a quick tip. But it also has connections still. If we were to go to the modify panel, notice we can't slide this at all. Alright, so a quick way we can, again, break this connection here is to go back to our Y parameter dialog, load this up on our right side, go back to our slider, refresh that, get to our slice parameters, and as you can see that they aren't quite connected to our value slider anymore, but they still have that connection there because again I've just copied it. So to break this, all we need to do is reconnect it to value and disconnect. We'll do the same to slice 2, reconnect and disconnect. Alright, the eyes are going to be closed here. And I have values we could actually put in to get them back to their original state. The slice from, go ahead and use the value of -14. Slice 2 is 30. Do the same for the right eye. -14 and 30. Okay, now we have an interesting thing going on here because we have values that aren't set to 0, but we'll want our blink controls to be set to 0 initially so we can maintain this default pose for our eyelids. So we're going to discuss something really important here when setting up controls. Again, that we want zeroed out, but at the same time we want to connect to other objects that aren't quite zeroed out. So that'll be discussed in the next lesson, but firstly, let's go ahead and create our blink control. We could actually use one of our knee controls for this. I'll select the right knee control and clone that. Okay, just drag that up, make a copy, choose OK. And to align this, we'll actually quick snap it to our helper for the head. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and drag this up so it's right above our head control. Okay, so now that that's done, we can recolor this. Okay, I'll use the same dull yellow we've been using. We can rename this. That's going to be GC underscore face extras 01. We'll link this now to the head bone. To do this quickly, I'll go back to our layer manager and freeze the character. What we'll also want to do from here is make sure we cannot move this object at all. It's just to access custom parameters that we're about to make for our blinks. So we can go to our curve editor, and again we're going to lock the position, rotation, and scale should already be taken care of because we cloned this from an object whose scale was locked. So we'll just right click and choose lock. Alrighty, so closing out our curve editor. Again, we can't move that object, and we linked it to the head bone so that as we start to move our head control, it will not separate. Okay, it will stay with our head rig. Okay, with that now done, what I'd like to do as well is go ahead and actually link the eyelids to that head bone as well, again, so that they'll move right. To do this, of course, we can just head over back to our layer manager, go ahead and unfreeze our character, select the eyelids, go ahead and just create a new layer with them. Again, make the default layer the active layer. So check that. We can now freeze the character, go to our link tool, and link right to our head bone. Then from there, with the eyelids still selected, we'll go ahead and choose our animation character layer and add those back. We can now select our layer 1 and delete that. So again, as we start to move our head control around, the eyelids will follow. Alright. Let's say before we close off this lesson, we go ahead and take our head control and also this face control that we added and add that to our control objects layer. Great. Well, with that now done, we could also go ahead and take care of the others. Might as well. And then by the next lesson, we can finish up our blinks. So I'll just go ahead and turn off the envelope objects. We can see that we need to add our head bone and also the neck. So just add that. We can hide the objects to hide. Go in and select our helpers and the IK goal and add those. If we turn off control objects, you can see everything's fine. Alright, so I'll turn everything back on. And again, that finishes this lesson. In the next lesson, we will work on rigging our blinks.